Hello people, my name is Ken. I'm a show-through guide for Meyers RV Stores. You know, one of the things that happens after a show-through for beginners, now we're talking about people that are new at RVing, is they realize what they've got and they're thinking about their first trip. And in fact, many times they've even planned their first trip. But then it kind of dawns on them, how do we do this? So I get a lot of invitations to go with them, which isn't possible. But we try to give them some tips what to do on your first trip. And even before your first trip, one of the things we try to tell people that you have homework. When you get done with your show through and you're leaving our property, if at all possible, if you can go to your home or someplace nearby where you can set up the unit and just even sleep in it for a night so that you're not around other people and feeling rushed. So once you decide to take that first trip and you go to an RV facility, campground, you pull in, you go check in, and that's the point at which you're going to ask about your site. And you can even ask ahead of time when you make your reservation what kind of site you like. Do you like to be under trees? Do you like to be in the open? That kind of affects how you're set up. And also, you want to know what amenities they provide. Is electric only, electric water and sewer, cable or satellite? That'll make a difference when you get to your site, how you do your setup. So the next thing is, let's say we've got to our site, you can see a nice unit behind us, and let's say for the moment we're not on this site. What we recommend is your driver and one of your helpers, you get out and look at your site. And what you're looking at is you can tell where other people have parked their unit because the wheels will have probably left indentations in the ground. And you can see probably where an average towable unit, for example, or even a drivable unit of this size, where it might have been for somebody else on the site. Now, if you have a smaller unit, you might be in a little different position. Why is this important? Well, first of all, you want to look to see where's the best place to park to level. And then the next thing is we walk over to the utility side is where are utilities located and how much of either wastewater piping you're going to put out or electrical lines are you going to be stringing. Now in this particular coach, you can see the wastewater exit port is here. And looking at the unit overall, I would guess at many campgrounds you'll find that the service post is likely over here somewhere. Now there's a couple of things to take in consideration. Where you want to be on the site, this is something you should look at before you get on site. If your service post is here, you have to accommodate your slide. If you get too close to the service post or a tree or something, you won't be able to open your slide and you find yourself pulling in and out trying to get it correct. So one of the things we suggest to make this a little bit easier and quicker, if you have slides, take your largest slide on the side, perhaps get a wooden dowel you can get at any hardware store, maybe put a little red tape on the end, and any obstruction over here or the service post, somebody can touch that to the service post and that length of piece of wood goes out and you can tell how far away you've got to be to comfortably get on the site, still be able to walk around your unit to take care of your facilities on this side. So that'll be the next thing to look at. Personally, I like not to have to put out a lot of sewer line, so I try to get as close to a sewer opening if you're on a site that has that facility. If it doesn't, then the next thing to consider is your electric line. On this particular coach, again, your service post being someplace in this area, on this particular coach, the electric input to the coach is all the way to the back of the stern of the coach. So usually coaches had somewhere in the 30 to 35 foot length. Other units that have the cords that are attached to the coach, you pull them out, that might be in the 20 foot length. So one of the things you might have to think about is if you're going someplace on this particular coach in particular with a power service all the way to the back of the coach, I'd probably carry an extension the appropriate size. That being, if it's a 30 amp coach, you might need a 30 amp extension, or a 50 amp coach, a 50 amp extension. So just in case you get to a position where you're not close enough to the service post for the length that you have with you. The next thing you're going to do, although we have the slides open on this right now, but once you see the site, drivers should get out and look the site over. Another handy feature these days, by the way, is a lot of coaches have a camera. They're pre-wired for camera, as this one is, and that would play into your vehicle. So if the driver gets out and looks around to see what's around, even with the camera, once you get in the vehicle and start to bring the coach on the site, you'll have an idea what you should be looking at. A lot of times I get there and find the picnic table is right in the middle of the site. People left and just put the table right there. So the first thing you've got to do is move things away so you can actually get on the site. Now, don't be afraid if your first time out, you're having a little concern about getting on the site. If you're unsure, ask them at the desk where you check in. They'd be happy usually to come out and help you. So now that you're on the site and we've taken a look, although we have the slides out right now, what we would prefer you to do is talk about leveling the unit. Now, leveling the unit is in two planes. We have to go forward to back and left to right. So the first thing to concern yourself with, honestly, is as you're backing onto the site, you want to try to consider the left and right first. And the reason you do that first is many coaches have either a crank here or this one has an electric, and it'll lift the coach from front to back. So that part is easy. The left to right is a little different. As you're looking at this coach, I'd say we're a little low on this side. There's a variety of things that you can get to level a coach from side to side. I personally carry those little blocks. I can't think of the name of them, but they look like Lego blocks, like kids' blocks. And you can actually stack them in different configurations. You can drive right at them. Some people, if you're handy, prefer to cut boards and carry boards with them that they've pre-cut, and a couple of different ones. Because remember, it's the refrigerator you want to think about. Refrigerators don't like to be more than 3 degrees off to be totally efficient, and 7 degrees forward. Well, I wouldn't worry about 7 degrees forward. Nobody'd want to be in a coach if you're off by 7 degrees. Now, on the corner of the coach, a lot of times people will ask, well, I don't see those little leveler stick-on things. Well, they don't come from the factory that way because, frankly, some people don't like the look of them. So you can get them and stick them on. Just find a flat spot, maybe a driveway at your home or a plaza, and it looks fairly level, and you can stick them on. Or you can simply use any kind of a carpenter's level and put it on your table or a countertop inside to level the coach. At least you can see how far you are off from side to side. Now, once you get yourself leveled up front to back and side to side, then it's time to talk about getting in the coach. Now remember, we said at this point the slides aren't open, but for the purpose of demonstration today, we did open the slides. So the first thing we want you to consider, this particular unit has 2 doors. And I always try to point out in a show through a safety issue that we concern ourselves with. We've got to deal with the doors, and once you're in place to stabilize the coach, we have a jack system here, or a stabilizer system. Now, I use that term, jacks and stabilizers. There actually is a difference. What you're seeing on this coach is a manual stabilizer. And what comes with the coach, it's probably in this compartment, is a manual crank handle right here. And I often tell people, if you have young kids, give them something to do, okay? They really can't get into too much trouble by engaging this thing and cranking it down, and that will bring the stabilizers down. Now, I define stabilizers anything that stops the rocking of the coach. This is not a jack. This is not the kind of thing you'd want to use to try to change a tire on something. There is such a thing as a jack, and I'll talk about that in a second. Now, if you don't have kids around for a little labor, what you can get, they make a little fitting that you can put on a drill, on an electric portable drill. You can put this on and quickly bring this down. However, if your drill happens to be a hammer drill, we'd prefer you not use that hammer. It's a little bit too much. You just need something to turn this till it touches the ground. And then if you need to lift it a little bit, You can probably do it with most drills, or you can do it with a handle. So there's one in each corner, and that kind of takes the rockiness out of the coach, so you don't feel like you're getting vertigo as you're walking around. It stabilizes the coach. Now the other systems are actually electric stabilizers, where you push a button and they come down and touch, usually one side and then the other. Does the same thing, only it's driven by the battery. Now the other term is actually jacks. You will see on some of the larger, heavier units, they now have an automatic leveling system with jacks. They're devices that come down and touch the ground. They actually can lift the coach a little bit, depending on the kind of coach, and motorhomes generally have it. I have it on mine. I have 4. Some fifth wheels may have as many as 6 of those legs. The only trick to those is, once you activate that system to automatically level, you got to keep people out of the coach, because the coach will send one down and it's sensing the ground, trying to find itself. If you get the dog running around or the kids running around, you'll confuse the system. And a lot of people complain, I don't think my jacks are working right, or my stabilizers. So be careful when you're doing that. So we've got manual stabilizers, we got electric stabilizers, and we have electric or hydraulic jacks that are found generally on larger units. So once we've done that, we've stabilized the coach, and we decided to take the steps down so we can enter the coach. This is a safety concern we have. These are the new style steps that people just love, especially if you have pets and little children, or people have mobility issues. To bring these steps down, there's usually a release lever, and you see one here, it's in blue. Now, on some of the larger units, these actually have a spring system that would gradually let it down. But if you have children or people not familiar with a coach helping you, you want to be careful, because once you pull this lever, this is coming down. The other problem is you cannot bring these steps down if the door is here. And the reason is the door must be totally open. You can see these little appendages on the side, these little ears, it has to clear the door. So you have to be careful to bring them down. They're aluminum, but they've still got a little weight to them. They come down and touch the ground. One thing to be careful of, if you have pets or something and you want to bring these steps up just a little bit to make it a little shallower, you got to be careful you don't bring it up too high, or this threshold right here gets like this, and then your door won't close. So on this unit, there's 2 doorways. So we have another one here with a manual step. Open the door. Now on some units, if you had that style step here and you have to open the door all the way to bring the steps down, that's fine, except you got to be careful, because your awning is right here. So if you open this all the way, even with a manual step, you got to be careful to bring the door back part way before somebody activates the awning. So try not to get too many hands in the pie. So on a manual one, they have instructions here. It says pull open here. So we're bringing this down, and if you look at my wrist, you got to be a little careful to go with it, because you're kind of caught there. So you do have to bend over. And here, I suggest you do it underhand. You don't want to catch your knuckles on the top step. And the same thing in putting the steps away. Okay, now that we've got the doors open, we've got the coach level, we've already got the slides out now. That'd be the next thing you do, is put the slides out. Now the coach is stabilized. On this side, we go back here, and it's time to think about. The only thing I would have done differently on this side is, depending on the coach, if your utilities happen to be anywhere under a slide, you might not want to open this slide right away until you get out anything from storage doors. Sometimes the storage areas, the containers actually come out with a slide. Sometimes they don't, they're underneath. So before you open that slide, and you know you can open it because you checked when you first backed in, you want to think about getting things out. On this side of the coach, you want to get things out that you're not going to have to keep going in and out of the storage. Try to keep that for the other side. So here you have your first open bay, and although it's all the way on the other side, the power cord's in here. This is where you're going to be hooking up your water supply. So again, your service post may be back here. So again, I would suggest in most cases you carry at least 25 feet of hose, white hose with a blue stripe, specially made for water, for RVs. And then I think we're on the site. And at this point, we can talk about some things you'll need for any RV once you get on site.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, check out our description below for more information, and if you're looking for your next camper purchase, please consider Meyers RV for your next investment. Thanks again, we'll see you next time.